I've been using for this almost for a year now, and I'm gonna say, I've been pretty impressed by this machine overall. It gets the job done, and it gets the job done correctly. So I really value this, and I kind of want to share my experience of what it's like for the past year. The biggest update I would say that is, the quality is crazy. As you can see, maybe I'll get my light here, like there is really no nicks or scratches or anything. There might be a few minor ones, but after using it pretty roughly for a year, there isn't really anything wrong with it on the surface. That's because the material obviously is premium. And because this is on the expensive side and none of the materials can really be seen to have any nicks or scratches. But nevertheless, I can test it for you guys and to see if this will scratch. Ah yes, that would definitely scratch. I don't know if you can see, there is some patterns here. Now let's do the white one. Right here, and I see a tiny bit, but it's very hard to notice. But it is still there. Next, we move on to the glass portion here, and yes, I can see there are some scratches right here. We see right here. Give it a run on top of here. This one, I think you'll probably see that. There's a little of a scratch right here, but that's very minor and it's very hard to tell. Next one, we'll do the one right here, and I can probably cannot see this on camera, but I can see a little nick right there. But then again, it is hard to see that you can barely see anything. And lastly, we'll go for the handle right here. Yep, you can definitely see the scratch right there. I don't know if you can see, there's definitely a scratch. So, all the material can be definitely scratched, but because it's matted, because of the way they are kind of constructed, so it's really hard to see. That's why it seems on the surface there is basically no damage after using it for a year. But after an inspection, I can see some scratches where I didn't scratch on, probably due to many uses, so that is an advantage. It's gotta look nicer and cleaner for a long time. Next, I'm gonna definitely say the self-cleaning feature right here. Sometimes it is a bit hard to get off, but once it comes off, you get it right here. As you can see, it is basically clean. I have been using it on dirty floors for quite a bit. It isn't the white at first it was, but it's still pretty clean. But I want to emphasize this. There is some water here. So this, although this cleans amazingly for the brush, it does not dry the dock, and it does not dry the brush very well. Even though there are some ventilations here and it's not gonna ventilate your brush. So you kind of have to do that at the end of the cycle. Maybe take this off, leave it on the side to air dry. And if you don't do this, it's gotta be really bad. It will form some molds and some bad smells. But considering it is clean, I don't have to do any of the work. I don't consider this too much of a downside. Another thing is, you can see I just cleaned this machine with this Arnold Clean feature, and this is dirty water it came out, and this is the max kind of volume that it wants to go up. I've gone above the line pretty regularly, so it is safe to assume it goes up to here. But just to be safe, stay on here. But as you can see on the cleaning cycle is half of the dirty water tank and almost like 1/3 of the clean water tank. So that means there's quite a bit of water, but the upside is the brush is so clean that it's probably the cleanest brush. Props the cleanest self feature I have used on the self-cleaning mops. So that is why it's really good, but the downside is it does use a lot of water. But you can just put in more water, you can use all solutions to do so it's not big of a deal. The next good feature about this is definitely the movement, and it's this propeller. It propels you forward and backward, so it makes it really easy. And I'll show you the swirling it does. But it kind of gives you a heads up. You kind of want to turn this on right here. You press on the power button. It turns on, but it doesn't actually go anywhere because it locks in place right here and it's standing up. But it won't start when it's standing up. When you tilt it backwards, that's when it'll start for you. I'll show you. As you saw right there, I did some crazy movements going this way and this way because it is easy to kind of move forward and move back. It feels so light even with a pretty heavy vacuum because the propeller is doing such a great job. And the mobility is really crazy too, going this way and this way without any restrictions. That's why I really want to showcase. And I don't know if you noticed, even though this wheel only goes in one direction, it doesn't swerve or nothing. It still moves horizontally this way. It's because the propeller is propelling this mop, and this mop is touching on the floor first. And the surface is wet, so you can kind of glide and kind of drift, which I will show you. So I will go in this direction, but it kind of goes in a U shape, and it will kind of come in this way. It's because it is wet. The mop is spinning really fast, but the propeller is helping you, so it will give you a lot of momentum, so it kind of drifts and it kind of has a lot of movement compared to a lot of other wet mops out there. I just want to end to some features I really like about this vacuum, mop thing, because it charges right here. You can see this is an angle charger. Whereas if you have any chargers where it was just straight, when they're bent, it can destroy, but this thing will last a lot longer. Not to mention, the charge time for this is not too long, which is something I really like. Because if I forget to charge it, and I remember to plug it in, I am good to go. Next up, I really like the design of the water tanks. You pop it down, and your hand automatically goes here, and this serves as a handle. And it's very easy to move this around, even though it's filled with water. I can easily pop this back in. This is the same with the water tank right here. This is super easy and super satisfying to kind of move around. I like it has a little blue light here. It kind of indicates when it goes on, although it is the cheapest machine. It doesn't have any complete display to tell you what it does, because I don't really need that. This costs down the price point on this, giving me a perfect indication what's wrong with it. There is an instruction manual, which what the light manually means, and it's super convenient, and I don't really need anything else. So yeah, overall, having the vacuum for a year, I'm really quite impressed. It's held up, and it really hasn't had any issues. All you gotta do is to make sure you pop this out and pop the mop out to dry or air dry regularly, because it can't really air dry as efficiently with these holes right here. But I have no complaints about this overall. It's being super solid and the durability is amazing. It feels like premium.